Hey everybody, this is Ryan.
And this is Kyle.
And you are listening to
The Doctor's Watcher, the Abominable Robot podcast about every episode of Doctor Who.
Indeed. Also, Abominable Robot or The Abominable Robots would be an awesome name for a band.
Yeah, it really would be. I think I would listen to them.
Yeah, just to hear. So, how's it going, Kyle?
It's going pretty well. I have a segment for us today, which is the Starquential Art Surveyors segment, which, of course,
nice.
as you all know, that's the segment where I talk about Star Trek comics.
Ah, cool.
And yeah, so I have, I guess for reasons that I don't really need to get into here, I have over the past several months been buying new issues of Star Trek comics as they're released, but then I haven't really been reading them until like the past month or so. Is like, man, I really need to like work on my comics backlog. So then I've been reading like an issue a day almost every day and have pretty much gone through most of my backlog. So yeah, I read Star Trek Strange New Worlds Seeds of Salvation. I read Star Trek Voyager Homecoming.
Cool.
I read the last arc or two of Star Trek Lower Decks. I don't think it had like a name for the arc or whatever. So Star Trek Lower Decks comics.
Nice.
I read Red Shirts and I think I have like one or two more issues to read before I'm caught up in Star Trek The Last Starship.
Cool. Dang, that's kind of a lot of active Star Trek comic stories. Like those are all, active and being released right now?
So the Voyager one and the Strange New Worlds one and Red Shirts were all like a specific story. I think they were like 5 or 6 issues each. So those are finished. Lower Decks is either done or on hiatus at the moment. I think the only one that is still currently ongoing is The Last Starship, but Red Shirts is actually going to have a new story arc coming out, like starting in a few weeks, I think.
Cool.
And
nice.
then
I
I think there's also a Starfleet Academy arc that either wrapped up recently or is maybe still ongoing that I need to talk to my comic shop about because I have not managed to get that one added to my pull list yet.
So you've even got like a pull list, and when you walk in there, they've got like a stack of comics for you.
Yeah, I try to go like
Awesome.
every few weeks or every month or so, and the dude at the shop, Jerome, he's like, "Hey Kyle, got your Star Trek comics for you."
Ah, cool. That's fun.
Yeah. So yeah, they've been pretty fun. Some of them are better than others, of course. I think with Star Trek Voyager Homecoming, it's a story that takes place like immediately after the end of the series. And spoilers for people who have not seen the end of Voyager, but it basically ends with them like, they get back to the Alpha Quadrant. They, say hi to the fleet of ships waiting for them. They see Earth on the view screen, and then credits roll. So we don't get like anything about like actually sort of like reintegrating into the society that they've been absent from for 7 years, or like,
Right.
Going and talking to their family members that were left behind. Like there's none of that. It's just like, oh, they're back. Cool. The end. So then
Yeah.
then with this comic arc, I was kind of hoping that we would get into a lot of that stuff and like, you know, sort of themes of like, you can never go home again. You know, things are never going to be quite like you remembered them. You know, probably there's going to be like some family drama and stuff like that.
Right.
But that's not really what it was. It was just kind of like, here's another episode. They have to go save Earth and or the galaxy from species 8472. And they do that. And then in like the last half of the last issue, there's like 1 or 2 panels per character of like seeing their family and stuff.
Man.
So I'm like, all right, you gave me like 10 pages of what I wanted to get like 5 issues of, but all right. The story was decent.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. And if you're going to tell a story, I guess you should probably tell that. But that would be such like that time, especially like you were saying, like these people are, you know, almost like space pirates now, you know, like they've gone feral a little bit. Like they haven't been in contact with like the greater human species in so long.
Yeah, totally.
Like that would be a fascinating thing. And, you know, I love when other media has done that, like really deal with the repercussions of like the adventure you just were on.
Yeah. But yeah, I think out of all of the series that I read, probably Red Shirts, I think was the most interesting or my favorite one to read, I guess. It's in like the original series era, and it's basically this squad of Starfleet security officers who are sent on like this super dangerous kind of undercover mission where, you know, they don't really have all the information. They're dealing with a satellite that's like transmitting wind information of this planet, but like spies are hacking it. And then the security dudes are like, well, why the fuck do they care about wind data? Of course, it's not actually wind data. It's like spy shit.
Of course.
And so, yeah, it's a team of like 12 security officers. And I will not reveal whether they all die over the course of the series, but I will say that at least most of them die.
Okay.
I think
that's what I had assumed.
It's 5 issues, and yeah, I think like 1 or 2 or 3 characters die in basically every issue, and like they're all sort of like different types of deaths, different fucked up shit happening, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
I think my favorite death of the series was a character who was like repairing part of the ship when there was a hull breach, and the character gets like vented out into space, and you know, as their body like flies away from the ship, we get a few panels that are like, you know, sort of a long distance panel of like their body, you know, tumbling away. And then we get like a couple close-ups of their face as, you know, they look out into raw, unfiltered space, and they're like, man, it really is beautiful. And their face just kind of like, you know, gets covered over in frost, and they die. And it's like,
whoa, man,
that is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, totally. It probably would be, I'm sure.
Yeah, beautiful, definitely.
That is. Huh, that's cool. That's like very kind of, at least if you're used to, you know, like Marvel comics or whatever, and like superheroes and shit, like, you know, that this kind of storytelling like you've just described is probably like pretty uncommon and rather more nuanced than you could usually expect.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, so it was cool. It does have kind of a plot twist that I more or less saw coming from a few issues away, but it was still a fun and enjoyable story.
Nice.
What about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I kind of came with a segment as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do it next time too. I sort of forgot to think of a very clever name for it, which is why it's a good thing yours was like over-engineered, the name for yours. But basically, I guess for now, I'll just call it, I found a cool track.
Nice.
Yeah, so in this segment, like it kind of works out, like it is kind of very much related to what I've been doing recently, which is I've been, digging into a lot of new music. And basically, I don't know, usually when that happens to me, it's in like a certain genre. So like I had one where I was on classic rock for like, oh yeah, I remember this was actually inspired by Benny's character in our Star Trek role-playing game.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Benny released a soundtrack, like a playlist that character had in-game. And, it was some really choice classic rock tracks. And like that inspired me to go on a whole deep dive. Like I wanted a playlist with every single classic rock song I liked, without like just throwing straight albums on there. You know what I mean? And I achieved that. It took me a while. I think it's like 16 some odd hours long or something.
Nice.
But I feel like it's pretty complete and it doesn't have any dumb stuff that I don't like. So anyway, point of that whole thing is like now I'm on one, maybe not quite as like extensive. I probably can't be because I'm doing modern music now, but I've been really getting into like the bassier side of EDM. So, I mean, definitely like squarely within kind of the dubstep arena, but like I'm not super drawn toward like the bro step or like the really loud, just kind of like, fuck, I sound old saying this, but like some of the dubstep that's out now is just like these really loud, like ultra sound effects, like stomping slap noises kind of, and like, I don't know, they all do it and it all sounds the same. And I think it's boring and it's not innovative. So it's not like these kids are doing music wrong. It's like, certain, like I think a lot of the genre of dubstep gets portrayed by like overrepresented by these dumb, like bro step subgenres that are unfortunately popular because people be dumb. But anyway, I found some really cool tracks, and I think I'm just probably going to limit myself to one per, at least for now. So I'll send this track over to you, Kyle. And I was thinking, I could give it like a little introduction or maybe like an intro for the album. We could listen to the track and then we could, of course, listeners, we won't probably make you sit through us listening through the whole track, but you can listen too. And then we'll come back and like maybe discuss it a little bit.
Nice.
So here is the track. It's from a collaboration between two musical artists. I think the Polish ambassador is doing most of the music. And that's just a dude. I don't know if he's even Polish. He's out of San Francisco. So, like, I don't know. And then there's another artist called Mammal. I don't know as much about them. I think that's the person who's doing like any sort of hip hop vocals.
Nice.
And then the track I sent over, their album is called A Quest for Color. And I think that's very, very appropriate. Like the album itself is super colorful musically. Like it's got kind of sparkling tones. It's got a really good groove to it. Like it's not, I don't know. It's very like bold kind of sounding, I guess I would say.
Nice.
And sparkly, like, and like, I don't know, it's kind of like sparkly, but without being plastic shiny, if that makes sense, which it totally doesn't, because we're talking about things you hear, not things you see. But maybe that's a good way to sort of put it.
Right on.
Anyway, the whole album's super groovy. This is my favorite track from it, called Wellscape. But it's well worth a listen to the whole album. Track 1 is incredible. The final 2 tracks are really, really good. And then there's some definitely like choice cuts throughout the middle. And this is one of those.
Nice. Nice. That's super badass.
Yeah, that's a pretty fun little track, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I would definitely say like the whole album is as groovy as that. Well, at least most of the album. And yeah, there's just certain tracks from there that get stuck in my head for days until I have to listen to it.
Uh-huh.
Then it goes away for a little bit, but it comes back. They're just so groovy. I don't know. They did such a great job.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to pick this up.
Yeah, absolutely. I purchased it from Bandcamp. Well worth the purchase. I think it was only $4 or $5. Good stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I'm also noticing in the Polish ambassador's bio on Bandcamp that it says that like not only does he lay claim to producing the sweetest beats this side of the Milky Way galaxy, but the world's funkiest diplomat is also using his popularity to steer the millennial generation toward a nourishing and sustainable way of relating with art community and the planet. So I don't specifically know what he means by that, but seems cool.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like all that. I like those words.
Uh-huh.
It does also seem like the kind of thing you could just say, but and like no one would be around, no one would be going like, hey, that's not true. Probably. But yeah, good stuff. Like I checked out some of the Polish ambassador's other stuff. I think I need to get deeper into it, but the stuff I checked out just wasn't quite as groovy. Like it didn't have that special sauce that this album seems to have.
Oh, sure.
But I'm sure there's good stuff out there. I didn't exhaust the catalog or anything. So yeah, I'd say that was a good, I found a cool track episode. Definitely got one queued up also for, it's going to be hard to wait 2 whole weeks to talk about the next one because I've been finding so many, but that's what we're going to have to do.
Nice.
In the meantime, listeners, I can tide you over with a joke. Did you hear, Kyle, about the dyslexic baker who joined the army?
No, I didn't.
He would always run into battle with his buns glazing.
Nice.
Yep. Our mother also enjoyed that joke.
Well, shall we find out what or who the doctor's glazing in the Abominable Snowman episode 3?
Yep, let's find out.
This is, of course, the 7th episode of season 5. And like I just mentioned, the 3rd episode of the Abominable Snowmen. And I continued with the animated versions for this one. And cool. Actually, I should say I switched back to animated because episode 2 was the one that actually exists that I watched the live action.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
And speaking of episode 2, do you remember our cliff dangler at the end?
Yeah, so after much running around and talking and mysterious happenings and voices, we ended up catching one of the yetis that's been going all nuts and acting unnatural. And when the doctor looked a bit closer at it, it was a robot. And I think that the doctor figured out that the robot was it looked like it had a data port or a hole or something like in it that was empty.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's where we left off.
Yeah, it was like a ball joint socket, basically.
Okay.
And then we cut to one of the silver spheres that like Jamie had gathered from the cave or whatever that starts like beeping and trying to roll away, but is kind of stuck in the mud.
Oh, yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. Okay.
As this episode starts, Jamie and Victoria and the doctor and Travers, who's the British guy, and some various monks are all just kind of like standing around the body of the robo-yeti that Jamie captured last episode. And, you know, the doctor's looking at this empty ball socket, basically. And he thinks that it's probably where the control unit for the robo-yeti goes. And he thus further thinks that the reason this yeti that Jamie and the monks captured just kind of like stopped working suddenly is that probably its control unit got dislodged during the capture. Which, of course, then further leads him to think that this robo-yeti's control unit is probably like on the ground outside where the capture took place. So he wants to go look for it. But Crisong, who's like, you know, head of security monk, basically, he won't let anyone leave the monastery until they've actually solved the mystery of who made the robo-yeti and why were they sent against the monks. Like, until that mystery is solved, Crisong definitely doesn't trust the strangers, like the doctor and his companions, probably doesn't really trust Travers, might not trust any of the other monks. So, like, gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
He leaves Tomni to guard them, and Crisong leaves the courtyard area. The doctor is like pretty frustrated. You know, he really wants to go find the control unit and like doesn't really think that they can, you know, advance in this adventure really until they do that. But Travers is basically just like, well, guess that's that. I'm going to go to bed now. And he leaves the courtyard. Of course, he doesn't actually go to bed. He goes to talk to Crisong privately. And he basically tells Crisong that the fact that these Yeti that, you know, including the one they captured and the ones coming to theoretically attack the monastery, the fact that they're robo-yeti proves that he's right, that the real Yeti are out there in the mountains somewhere and that they're harmless.
That's a bit of a jump.
Yeah.
I mean, you had me in the first half. Like, if there's a disguised robot of a Yeti that will tell you that, the thing it's disguised as is probably there also.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's, I accept that.
Yeah, like it's not
But the harmless part, I don't know.
Yeah. It's not a guarantee, even the first part, but like chances are pretty good at least.
Right. Like if you catch a fisherman and you look at the flies he's using, if he knows what he's doing, probably there's bugs that look like that fly.
Yeah, totally.
Same concept.
So yeah, he's like, dude, this proves that the Yeti are real and that they're shy and timid and harmless, just like I always thought. And like, I need to go look for them. But Crisong is just like, dude, the fucking robo-yeti would kill you if you left the monastery. And I don't trust you. And I said no one is leaving, period.
Those are some pretty strong arguments.
Victoria, meanwhile, has a realization that I thought the doctor had already had as he was looking at the ball socket. But I guess he only put like 2 and 1 together. He didn't quite go to putting 2 and 2 together. But Victoria realizes that the silver spheres are probably the control units.
Smart.
And like,
that's pretty good for a person from the Victorian era.
Yeah,
too.
totally. As soon as she says that, then like everyone's like, oh yeah, shit, Jamie brought one of those, remember, like to show the doctor. And at the time the doctor didn't really know what it was, and they just kind of like left it on the ground by the Buddha statue in the courtyard. Tonmi, who's still there guarding them, won't let them leave the monastery. He's like following Crisong's rules, even though he thinks that Crisong is wrong to not trust them. But he is willing to accompany them to the courtyard inside the monastery, where they don't find the silver sphere that they left there.
So it must have like found a groove in the mud to roll along until it got free or something.
Yeah. There is a monk here guarding the courtyard, Relpachan, and they ask him about it, but he doesn't seem to have seen it, doesn't really know what they're talking about. He says that Crisong did pass through the courtyard, but he didn't touch anything. And Travers also passed through the courtyard, but also it didn't touch anything or take anything with him when he left. And they're like, he left? And Relpachan says that, yeah, Travers said that Crisong said that he had permission to leave. So I let him go.
Oh, good.
They're like, dude, you fucking got lied to. So Tomini figures that they'd better go tell Crisong, while Jamie decides to go search Travers's room at the monastery and see if he's got the silver sphere in there. Victoria's just like,
one thing's for certain, it couldn't have moved on its own.
And then we cut to the sphere moving on its own.
Nice.
The sphere rolls past the room where the robo-yeti body is. The camera is kind of like following it as it rolls past, but then the camera just kind of lingers in the room. And there are a couple of monks who have just finished stringing up a bunch of string around the robo-yeti body. It's almost kind of like they've erected like the ropes around a wrestling arena. But they've just done it like around the robo-yeti.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, they think that it's some sort of demon, and that probably the metal is just armor like any warrior would wear.
they're just like penning them in like, a bad child penning it in.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they've built a spirit trap around it, is what they call it.
Oh, okay. Spirit trap. Nice.
The devil in his guile wears his armor beneath the skin to protect his evil heart.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I've read books where they said similar things, so okay.
Seems pretty reasonable, honestly.
Yeah, like even I've played RPGs where it's like, yeah, you've got cyberpunk subdermal armor. Yeah, it's very similar.
Mm-hmm. Krasong and the abbot Songsen show up, and they see the spirit trap that these monks have erected, and the abbot's like, oh, cool, good idea. The abbot and Krasong start talking about how hard Krasong's job of protecting the monastery is getting to be, and like how dedicated and devoted Krasong is to the abbot and to the monastery. Krasong really wants to get the abbot's authorization to fight who or whatever is doing all this, but the abbot Songsen is just like, no, bro, we're peaceful monks. You can't change our ways.
I would fight to preserve them. You must let me. There is no other way.
There is. It is merely obscured to our simple minds. I shall seek guidance from the master, Padma Sambhava.
So the abbot just kind of like starts meditating.
Seems like a dick move, but like,
yeah,
I guess you wouldn't take it that way if you assumed he was communicating with some, hidden master or whatever.
The doctor arrives in the room with Tomny and Victoria, and he's like, dude, Krasong, did you tell Travers that he could leave? And Krasong's like, no. And the doctor's like, well, he did. And he told the gate guard that you gave him permission. So Krasong goes to check things out. He's going to take the doctor with him.
It's about time you let me help you. Help? I want to make sure you don't disappear as well.
So they head to the courtyard. The doctor tells Krasong about sort of what they've discovered or deduced about the control units, and how the control unit that Jamie brought back from the cave has disappeared. So they really need to find the other control unit that's outside the gates. That's the one that they believe dropped from the robo-yeti that was captured. Krasong thinks for a minute. He can tell that this is like really important to the doctor and could potentially help them figure out what's going on. So he decides to go look for it himself. He still doesn't want to let them leave the monastery, so he's just going to step out the gates and start looking. So he heads out, and we see the silver sphere, and we hear it beeping. It's just like sitting in the snow and mud a few feet away from him.
That's convenient.
We cut to a brief shot of a table that has like a map of the monastery and like the surrounding area around the monastery, like inlaid into the table. Looks really nice. And there's a figurine, probably like 3 inches tall, of a robo-yeti on the table. And then we see this like decrepit gray hand reach in to the camera's view, and it places a second figurine of a robo-yeti on the table next to the first one. And then we cut to a clearing outside where one robo-yeti is just kind of standing there, and a second one walks into the scene and stands next to the first one.
So, did we just get a peek at the dungeon master?
I think so, yeah.
Because, that really seems like what this guy's doing. Is he about to roll a 20-sided die?
Yeah, like he's got his map all laid out. Just Yeah, busting out
cool
the
minis. Right. Awesome.
Victoria wants to follow Song Sen, who's going to the inner sanctum to meet with the Master Padmasambhava. I guess the standing in place and meditating wasn't quite good enough. But
I'm still picturing it all right, you guys, you're asking me all these questions. I'll figure it out. And then just standing there, he just closes his eyes and God, you guys keep asking me questions. All right, I'm going to go to the fucking inner sanctuary. I really need to just get some peace and, meditate to ask these questions.
Totally. So, yeah, Victoria wants to follow him in, but Tommy is guarding her, and he says it's forbidden. He says, no one is allowed into the inner sanctum except for the abbot. And she's like, dude, seriously? You've lived here your whole life, and you've never been in the inner sanctum? Don't you have any curiosity or anything? Do you even know what the master looks like? And Tomny's just we really can't go in there. It's forbidden, and I'm a total rule follower. So she's like,
Very well. But I'll get there somehow.
Yep.
Krisong, meanwhile, standing outside the monastery gates, has somehow managed to not find the silver sphere, even though in the previous shot that we saw, it literally was 3 feet away from him. Jamie and the doctor are kind of standing in the open doorway, basically, of the monastery, and they really want to come help him look, but he's like, no, fucking stay there. And then we cut back to the inner sanctum, where the nice voice of Padmasambhava is telling Song Sen that really it would have been better if they hadn't brought the robo-yeti body into the monastery, but whatever, it's already done. The doctor's clearly pretty fucking smart and shit. And Song Sen's well, maybe he can help us, if he's so smart. But Padmasambhava thinks that the doctor's mind is too complex to really predict how he might react, and he might be opposed to their plan. And then Padmasambhava kind of switches to his gravelly, raspy voice and says that they must continue the work alone.
I must now make sure our plan is impaired no more.
And as the raspy voice speaks, we see the decrepit gray hand kind of push the 2 robo-yeti figurines forward on the map. And then we cut to the actual robo-yeti that we saw a few scenes ago, and they start to walk.
Uh-oh. This is Operative 23 sending a message from Resistance Outpost Alpha Charlie Alpha Bravo. I have a critical request which will help bolster the strength of our resistance forces. You must recommend the Doctor's Watcher to everyone you know. Friends, family, co-workers, even the person you sometimes see on the bus. This is the only way for our people's movement to succeed. Share the podcast and leave good reviews. If you do not do this, we will be forced to resort to...
Krisong has rolled his dice a few times, and eventually the GM's like, all right, you take 10 and you find it.
And sick of waiting for your ass.
So he picks it up, course, by now, the two robo-yeti are like approaching. They're fully in view, almost at the monastery. And instead of like quickly running back in through the gates and closing them, or like maybe trying to fight them, or like doing anything at all, Crisong just kind of like stands there yelling in fear as the silver sphere that he's holding beeps. And the two robo-yeti basically like amble up to him. They take the sphere from him. They kind of like shove him aside, and then they leave.
They came to get their ball back.
In the inner sanctum, Padmasambhava's voice says that the Yeti have accomplished their work, and the decrepit gray hand of the GM comes in and moves the two figurines away on the table, like away from the monastery. And then it puts a third figurine down with the first two. And then it holds up a small, like metal and glass pyramid on its palm as Padmasambhava's voice gives the abbot some instructions.
Take this pyramid I have prepared. Take it to the caves. Then the great intelligence will focus upon this planet. Soon it will begin to grow, and at last take on physical form. At last its wanderings in space will be at an end. My work will then be done.
Whoa, what?
And like as he says this glass and metal pyramid kind of like floats up off of the decrepit gray hand, and it kind of floats between like some curtains basically that are separating Abbot Songsen from the table and the hand and stuff. So it like floats out to the abbot, and he takes it and he leaves.
Dang.
Jamie and the doctor are explaining to Crisong that the robo-yeti that he just encountered didn't come to attack. They probably only came to get the sphere back. And that the robo-yeti that Jamie and the monks captured earlier probably only came to get the sphere that Jamie had taken from the cave. Doctor's like,
Still like to know what happened to that one.
and then we, the viewers, are helpfully shown that it's still just like rolling around the monastery. And it apparently has a pretty good stealth skill that it uses to hide as Abbot Songsen like walks down the hall right past it.
Nice.
Crisong has confirmed to the doctor that he did hear a sound coming from the sphere, which the doctor thinks is probably the sphere either sending or receiving signals, and that if he had access to the equipment that he has back on the TARDIS, he could probably trace the signals.
You mean you can find out where the Yeti are getting their instructions from?
Yes.
So Crisong is not like super happy, but decides to go ahead and let them leave the monastery.
I have no choice. I have failed. My warriors are powerless. I must trust you.
Interesting.
Victoria tells Tonmi that she's going to go look for the doctor and Jamie, since, you know, they haven't reported back to this room yet. But Tonmi doesn't need to come. He can stay here. That's fine. And he's just like, dude, you're being obvious. Like, I know what you want to do. You need to stay here with me. But then the monks Saphan and Rinchen show up, and they tell Tomni that he needs to go talk to Chrysong, so he leaves Victoria with the two of them. She asks them about Jamie and the doctor, and Rinchen is about to tell her that Chrysong let them go to the TARDIS, but Saphan interrupts, and he's just like, yep, they are totally fine. They are helping our bros, but they're fine, and that's all you need to know, basically. Saphan and Rinchen, like, have their own shit to do. So they basically just tell Victoria to go join Tomni and Chrysong in the courtyard, and then they leave. We cut over to the courtyard where Tomni and Chrysong are discussing like what they should do and who they can or can't trust when Rinchen shows up with Victoria.
Chrysong, you must guard this child. Saphan sent her to you in the courtyard, yet I found her near this sanctum.
I didn't mean any harm.
For her own good, it would be safer if she were closely guarded.
We briefly see that the two robo-yeti from earlier are heading up the mountain toward the cave, and Travers is following them from a distance. And then we see Abbot Song Sen enter the courtyard, and basically with like a wave of his hand, he hypnotizes the courtyard guard and tells the guard, Relpachan, that he will wake up out of hypnosis after Song Sen leaves, and Relpachan won't have seen anything. And then Song Sen leaves.
Wow.
Tomni has taken Victoria to a cell, and she, is a little bit put out, but the two of them are kind of friendly by now. And she asks, like, if he is actually going to, like, lock her up in the cell. And he's like,
No, I don't think that will be necessary. But you must promise to behave and not cause trouble.
Oh, of course, of course.
Totally. She says that it's just that she really doesn't like mysteries. And he tells her that there are certain things that shouldn't be asked. So she basically drops that line of dialogue and switches to asking if they can go look for the doctor. And Tanmi's like, oh, like, he left. He's on his way up the mountain. Didn't Saphan tell you? And, of course, Saphan didn't, and Victoria's annoyed. And she says something about having a mind to go after them, like after Jamie and the doctor. And, of course, Tanmi reacts to that, and she tells him that she's not actually serious. And he's like,
Oh, please, forgive me. I'm being a very bad host. Would you care for some food?
And she says no at first, but then she changes her mind. So he leaves to go get some food. And of course, as soon as he's gone, she also leaves.
Nice.
Up on the mountain, Jamie and the doctor encounter a group of 3 robo-yeti, but they're all just kind of like standing there, not doing anything. And the doctor gets curious and like starts wondering if maybe they've been switched off or something. But Jamie's just like, dude, we should like get to the TARDIS while we can. Like, if these Yeti seem chill, then like, let's just go to the TARDIS. So they sneak around behind this group of Yeti and happen to just miss seeing Abbot Song Sen, who arrives in this clearing like just after they leave. He's carrying the weird glass and metal pyramid from the decrepit hand of the GM. And the pyramid starts to hum as he walks past these 3 Yeti. And then they all turn and follow him as he heads toward the cave.
Ooh.
Tonmi comes back to Victoria's empty cell, and then he goes to tell Chrisong, who's like, "You fucking idiot." And Chrisong says that no one has passed Ralpachan in the courtyard, so she must still be in the monastery somewhere, and that Tommy needs to find her. We cut over to Victoria, who is, of course, sneaking into the inner sanctum. And we hear Tonmi's voice in the background calling for her. And as soon as she enters the inner sanctum, she hears Padmasambhava's nice voice telling her that she shouldn't be found in there.
The monks will look upon your presence here as sacrilege.
And then it kind of like switches to the raspy voice and tells her to go quickly. Meanwhile, the silver sphere rolling around the monastery has made its way to the room that the robo-yeti body is in. And somehow it rolls like vertically up the leg of the table. And then it rolls like up the side of the robo-yeti body. And it rolls itself like right into the empty ball socket in its chest. And then the robo-yeti fur flap like closes over it. Victoria, meanwhile, has also entered the room, but she hasn't noticed the sphere rolling around. Tomni is still searching for her and still calling her name, and then he hears her scream. So he rushes to the room. We see the robo-yeti sit up, and it just like tears right through the spirit trap strings that the monks had set up earlier. And it stands up, and Victoria cowers, and music plays, and the credits roll.
Nice. That seemed like for a single episode, it seemed like more stuff happened than usual.
Yeah, it did kind of seem like, we've got the robo-yeti coming back to life, I guess. We've got like something going on with Padmasambhava and Songsen talking about the great intelligence.
Right. And like the 2 voices. But we've only seen one DM. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, we've got Songsen bringing the weird glass and metal pyramid to the cave.
Yeah, like what the hell? Oh, another what the hell is like if the sphere can like roll vertically up the leg of a table, why is it stuck in the mud? Like mud would be easy. Like, that seems like not a thing.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, unless the mud's like really sticky or something, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's funny. Like, like 1 minute it's like, oh crap, mud, I can't do anything. And the next minute it's like, oh yes, well, I'll just do a vertical roll. No biggie.
And like, you've seen pictures of the robo-yeti, like rolling up the robo-yeti's side, if it's laying on its back, is basically also just a vertical roll.
Yeah, right. At least for a long time, you're going straight up and then, curves eventually. But yeah. Well, cool. That's fun that it pretty much, it did answer a few questions, I guess, kind of. But it definitely gave us more questions than it answered.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, awesome. Any further thoughts about this one?
Yeah, I had one thing I wanted to say, which I probably should have mentioned in an earlier episode, but I forgot to. But I learned that the actor who plays Travers is Jack Watling, who was the father of Deborah Watling, who plays Victoria.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Huh. So it's like a father-daughter episode.
Yeah, so I thought that was fun. I guess Deborah Watling's brother Giles also ended up being the voices of several characters in various Big Finish Doctor Who audio productions.
Nice. That's cool. The Doctor Who family.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I thought that was neat.
Yeah, definitely. Well, sweet. I can't wait until next episode when we presumably really find out what it means to have the robots Yetis fully charged up and under the power of this weird pyramid thing, and one of them's got his control module or whatever. So, yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in, listeners. We appreciate your dedication to a podcast that can only be described as almost too exciting to tolerate.
Indeed.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle, for describing this cool Abominable Yeti episode, Abominable Robot Yeti, for me.
And yeah, thank you, Ryan, for listening to this Abominable Robo-Yeti episode.
And listeners, don't forget that, basically this is the perfect episode to tell the half of your friends that's really into Yetis about. They're going to love it. And then the other half of your friends, the ones that are really into robots, twist, they're going to love it also.
Nice, totally. Now, all we need is a serial about ninja pirates.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll get to that one when we get to it.
Well, listeners,
all right, cool.
If you want to find out if we have Ninja Pirates next time, come back in 2 weeks.
Indeed. The twist is Kyle and I will be here. All right. Bye.
Bye.
No, Miss Victoria, we mustn't.
I only want to see where he's going.
I told you, the sanctum. No one is allowed to go there. Please, let us go back.
You mean to say you've lived here all this time and never been in there?
Yes?
You are funny. Aren't you the tiniest bit curious?
No.
And you've never seen this master?
Never.
Don't you want to know what he looks like? Oh, sure you do. Come on.
No, Miss Victoria, can't you understand it is impossible?
I don't see...
No, you do not. It is forbidden, and I have been brought up in the path of obedience.
Very well. But I'll get there somehow.